Hey everybody, welcome back. This is lesson 4 on the powers of the president. This lesson is going to focus on the checks and balances that the president has on the other two branches, the legislative and the judicial branches. We're going to focus especially on the power of the veto and the power of appointment. As the legislator in chief, the president has a lot of checks on the Congress. The most importantly is that the president is the last voice, the last vote on any law that's proposed, any bill that's put through Congress. A bill cannot become a law unless it's signed by the president. The president doesn't sign it, it doesn't become reality. And the president has the power to veto it, to reject it, to send it back to Congress, and essentially to kill any bill. That's a big power. One person can kill a bill that was voted on by hundreds of members of Congress in two different chambers. As the chief executive and as the chief legislator, that's an important check that they have on the lawmaking branch. Another check I didn't put on the written notes, but will be discussed later, is the vice president. The vice president's a tie-breaking vote in Congress, in the U.S. Senate, and that's the way that the executive branch has a voice in the vote-making process. Last but not least, used definitely expansively the past few presidencies, is the use of executive orders and an order by the president on how a law will be enforced. And many times these executive orders supersede the law and kind of change the meaning of the law and how they're enforced. We've seen presidents on both sides of the aisle use the executive order to really change dynamically the way that laws are enforced within the United States and really change the meaning of the law, sometimes even canceling laws that they don't like out. The constitutionality of this is definitely still under debate, but it's definitely part of the reality of the American president. On the judicial branch, and you could say this is also a check on all of them, is the idea of appointment, that the president is the hirer-in-chief. You cannot become a U.S. Supreme Court justice. You cannot become a federal judge. You cannot serve in a cabinet. You cannot serve in any federal agency and on a higher level without a presidential appointment. The president points at who they want to fill those jobs. Without a president appointing you, you will never be eligible. Now, yes, the Senate has a counter check on this check, which is that the Senate can advise and consent on federal appointments, so they can reject the appointment. Hence, why it says you're hired potentially. That the Senate can vote you down, or maybe not even take a vote on you at all, as we saw recently, but you can't be in a position to get there unless the president appoints you. So, that wraps up this lesson. You have 2 questions. I want you to choose one of the 2. So, first one focuses on the veto. What effects do you think that the POTUS having the power to veto has on bills proposed by Congress? And what are some of the other things that we've talked about in previous lessons of how the POTUS can affect the lawmaking process? Or you can focus on the power of appointment. Why might some argue that the POTUS's power of appointment has the most long-term impact of any of his or her powers? And do you agree with this? Why or not? So you can either veto it or make an appointment. Either which way, you got to answer the question. I look forward to talking about both of those questions in class and reading your answers on Edmodo. Until then, have a fabulous day.